It's a pleasure to be here again in Italy, to be able to present to you the product roadmap. Of course, I just want to start with our safe harbor statement. Please understand that the things that I'm about to share with you are plans, and that plans can and do change. And that change is actually a very good thing because as we're on this journey for digital transformation, as we're on this journey to figure out how to put the customers at the heart of our business, we really do think that there's going to be a lot of things that we can learn from you, our customers, from the things that are going on, to be able to continually update and revise our roadmap so that it better suits your needs, so that we can be a platform for that transformation. I want to share with you slides that I've shared with you last year and in the past. And this is, for me, something that we used to describe the vision and direction for Liferay Portal. But now in 2016, we've announced this new offering called Liferay Digital Experience Platform. And I just want to reemphasize that we've been on this journey for quite a while. And if I were to be able to simplify what this journey is we really want to help you as a platform and as a vendor be able to engage your users by being able to create points of interactions, touch points, websites, mobile apps, things like that. Then we want you to be able to understand what your users are doing as they interact with your company, as they signal to you the things that are important to them and not important. How can you really understand their needs? And of course, knowing all that, we really want to be able to then unify that experience for your engagement with your customers, for your employees. And I know a lot of times when people look at that last point of unifying the experience, they often think about things like, okay, if you start filling out a form in one device, can I be able to continue on and fill out in another device without having to refill a lot of the information that I've already provided? And surely that stuff is important, but I think we're thinking beyond that. We're thinking about how do you make the connection between any one of those individual interactions or experiences so that when you think about the last 5 or 6 forms this person has filled out, that gives you a better clue as to what things interest them, what things are important to them, so that you can provide the next best interaction for them. I've also shared with you these slides before, but I just want to do it again to provide some continuity, and also I think it still accurately depicts and describes the high-level view of where we want to take the Liferay platform. So many of you have chosen Liferay because we provide a lot of tools for you to be able to create websites and mobile apps, whether native, hybrid, or mobile websites. And you've used them to solve a wide variety of use cases, whether they're websites, intranets, and portals. And part of the reason that it was easy to be able to create these points of interaction was we provided a lot of cool functionality out of the box, whether it was web content, collaboration, social, workflow, many of the components you really need to bring that experience together. And unlike other infrastructure portals of the past, we have a functionality that you could immediately benefit from, have ROI, and additionally was customizable as well. We also made it easy to integrate with backend systems through APIs and web services and be able to expose all that up into the UI layer. And this is essentially probably captures the value proposition that most of you are familiar with Liferay and why you've chosen it as a platform. So where do we evolve from here to be able to provide you even more value and benefit for using the platform? Now, it would be great if all our customers use Liferay to build everything, their sites, their mobile apps, etc. But we know that that's not going to happen. So I think one of the questions we have to answer is, what do we do with the existing sites that you may already have that are a third party, or decide to build something else in some other front end? Well, wouldn't it be great if Liferay could be able to make it easy for you to surface up the content and applications you already have within the Liferay platform to these non-Liferay third-party websites? And in many ways, you've been able to do that already through our web services, but we want to see if we can actually push that further and make it that much easier to be able to not only call these things through our APIs, but provide services that can easily accomplish that. And of course, we're also thinking about, how does this all work with this whole explosion of IoT, of connected devices that are coming online? And there's not much that we can say about that part of the story right now, but I know that some of our partners like SMC are thinking about this and really making a lot of advancements for it. Now, once you have all these points of interactions, all these different ways in which your customers can engage with you through websites, through third-party sites, through mobile apps, through connected devices, one big problem you're going to have to solve is how do you bring it all together as one seamless experience? And if you're engaging with one company and you're interacting them in one channel, how do you provide that continuity in case they start re-engaging you with another channel? So we're thinking about, how can we provide that continuity, that user experience connectivity? How do we get analytics and activity tracking and all this information that's out there together back to the portal so that we can better help you serve your users by understanding their needs? So that essentially is the high-level vision of where we want to take Liferay. I think introducing this whole concept of what is Liferay DXP, I think Brian Chung probably spoke about it in his initial keynote, but this is kind of how I've logically grouped it into the parts of the product that allow you to create and manage touch points, the tools we provide, and upcoming engagement management tools like the DXP Cloud, where we're going to provide you with a single view of the customer and the campaign manager. And what I want to do for this roadmap presentation is, it's a lot of products there, is to be able to give you a movie trailer preview of the things that we're thinking about for each of these areas. So what I want to do is provide you the 3 themes that we're thinking about for any one of these areas. Now, it's not an exhaustive list of the things that we're focusing on and building, but hopefully you'll be able to get a better sense of where we're headed with all this for each of the individual components. And after that, I want to see if I can try and bring that all together into a story that will hopefully help you resonate with you in terms of where all this is kind of headed. So I'm going to start off with our flagship product, Liferay Digital Enterprise, formerly known as Portal, and drill down into the components that make up that product. So the first thing I want to talk about is the foundation. And the foundation, if I were to describe it, is basically the portal-like capabilities that you have all become aware of and used. For 7.0, we invested a lot in this concept of modularity to give you benefits like being able to reuse logic so that you can be more agile for meeting your business needs, easily customizing and extending through extension points, being able to only run the services that you need. And I know a lot of these things are things that get developers really excited, but I do think that it really does make your business much more agile in being able to pivot and be able to adjust your strategy accordingly. And so to further that story, some of the things that we're thinking about is, can Liferay truly be a microservices platform for you? So the things that we're investing in right now are being able to provide you with self-contained scalable services. And so that you can be able to reuse that platform, not only to be able to scale out the things that are important in the Liferay, but to build your own applications on top of Liferay and be able to scale them out in a microservices fashion as well. Now, another story that's important for us for the foundation is this concept of the headless platform. Everyone predicts that there's going to be a whole slew of devices that are going to be coming online, whether it's your fridge or your watch or all these devices that are going to become more and more relevant. Now, how can Liferay help you as a headless platform so that the content, the apps, the things that are contained in the platform can be more easily reusable in any type of front end and any type of device? And that's what we're kind of calling the concept of our headless platform. And finally, for the foundation, we want to round it out by continuing to evolve some of the benefits that you've already gotten out of Liferay, and that's Liferay as an application platform. Now, we've made it really easy for you to have reusable services, have high speed of development, but I think some of the parts that are missing as part of that story as we're in 2016 is this whole concept of NoSQL storage. As you're looking to capture tons of data, whether it's analytics or auditing, is there a way Liferay can easily allow you to create custom apps that require that amount of data storage? The next part that I want to talk about for Liferay Foundation is this concept of assets. Now, Liferay wants to provide you this whole concept of responsive assets. And what we mean by that is, can the assets that we provide, things like blogs, documents, PDFs, can they understand the channel in which that content will be published and be able to adapt and adjust and be able to optimize the content for that channel? So for example, the easiest example is, let's say you're creating a blog and you're uploading a 10 meg picture, and that's the size that's required because you're publishing it in your desktop. But as soon as someone is trying to consume that content through a mobile device, through a tablet, maybe through some kiosk or some other thing where the size is going to be much smaller, can Liferay understand the channel and be able to appropriately adapt to it and provide a smaller image with smaller bandwidth and be aware of the context and how the user is trying to interact with that information? And it's much more than just size and bandwidth. It's about layout, format, all these things that are adaptive and can change according to the user's need. And that's great in terms of being able to optimize assets that's delivered to different channels, but how do you know what the right asset is? That's where we get into the concept of contextual assets, of providing that seamless journey across an experience, being able to know what's relevant for this user and what should be the next piece of content that they see. And on the Liferay Sync side, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the product that we have that allows you to be able to have your content through the desktop app or through the mobile app. But we want to not only provide that continuity across devices, but be able to add additional features around collaboration. What kind of things would you want to use in different environments? Notifications, content editing, integrating with workflow. Those are some of the concepts and ideas we're thinking about to be able to provide you more value as you have access to these documents across all your devices. On the web experience side, I think in the past year, I've probably shared a lot of slides about how we want to improve our web experience management. And I think it all starts with testing and optimization. Liferay has provided you a lot of tools like localization, workflow, being able to publish content, have multiple sites. These are all great tools, but we want to provide you ways in which you can understand, well, the content that I've published, the website that I've created, what content is working, what's not. And we want to make sure that we integrate that in with our concept of staging, because we really do think that if we do allow you to be able to understand your content well and how it needs to be worked on, it really needs to be integrated with this concept of being able to stage content and test it and understand what really works for your users. We've shared this concept in the past. We've called it modern site building. And it's just a concept that, we don't want to be stuck in a static website, brochure site concept back, when websites were first created in the mid-90s. We want to help you be able to publish volumes of content, be able to provide you dynamic content, whether it's randomly selected or sequenced in some way. We want to be able to help you deal with being able to manage and easily create compelling content for your users without having to go through the burden of creating so many pages and so much content. And a part of that is improving the overall site building experience. And if you're familiar with Liferay 7 and you've seen our new form builder that we have, we're trying to take that concept and extend it out and say, hey, what if we allowed users to be able to create websites that easily, not just forms? And finally, we want to provide you more analytics, more information about things that are very Liferay specific that will take you beyond what you're able to get with Google Analytics. Google Analytics does great, provides you great information when it comes to content on the page level. But what Liferay allows you to do is have a single piece of content that can be published on multiple pages on any site. You can actually even have that content on multiple sites. And wouldn't it be great if you could see analytics around that content to understand what pages is this content on? Where is it being clicked? What sites is it on? All that information that you might not be able to get out of Google Analytics, we want to provide you additional value in understanding your content in Liferay. For the mobile experience side of things, we want to make an investment in easier app building experience. If you're familiar with Liferay screens, you can see where we're headed in that direction. We're focusing on not only developers, but ultimately we want to provide a tool in which business users can be able to use a product like screens and be able to quickly build apps that are relevant for the business. We're focusing on the personalized experience across the devices for mobile to start with. And we want to make sure that both from a manual and dynamic perspective, that the content that you have, whether it surfaces up in the mobile app or a mobile website, is going to be tied into the larger story that you're trying to weave around the experience for each user. And of course, that's only going to happen if you have insight into your customers, into what they're doing, how they're interacting with their apps, with your websites, and across that journey, we want to be able to focus on that. On the collaboration side, we are investing in this concept that we're saying is, we're describing as engagement metrics. And across the social tools that we provide for you in Liferay, blogs, forums, wikis, knowledge base, I think there's a lot of information we can provide there about how your users are interacting with that content. And what I really like about the way we're approaching that is we're not just looking at it from a customer based perspective, but we're also thinking about employees, because we really do want Liferay to be your digital enterprise platform that's not just for engaging your customers, but to also consider your employees as well. So with blogs, there are things like, has my blog been read? And are there certain departments where this blog matters more? And can I easily notify them to be able, the people that haven't read it, to go follow through and actually read the blog? We want to, if you looked at 7.0, you noticed that we invested in improving the whole blog writing experience. And that, I think, was something that people really enjoyed. And we want to see if we can go through the other tools that we have, forums, wikis, knowledge base, and be able to reimagine how those tools can be much more easily used, so that content can be collaborated and shared very easily. And I really do think that with the collaboration tools, the real value is going to be not in any tool in and of itself, but how they all come together to be able to provide you something where the sum, the interaction between these collaboration tools and how well they're meshed together is going to provide you more value than the individual parts themselves. We're also, for collaboration, planning to create some mobile apps that will take some of the core functionality that we have for collaboration and provide them for you in mobile apps. So we're thinking through what is the context of the user while they're doing mobile? What does it mean that they want to look at some documents? What does it mean that they want to be able to approve workflow and be able to provide the right tools in the right context? For forms and workflow, we're investing right now in additional forms personalization. We want to be able to provide more support for localization, for conditional rules, so that you can easily be able to hide things appropriately for your users, skip ahead to different sections so that the forms can be not just single page forms, but really support more complex surveys that you can be able to send out and be able to meet that use case. But I really do think that with forms, the opportunity here is not the form itself in terms of what it's doing in that one place and time, like for example, registering for a web event like a webinar. I think the real value there is that whenever your users are interacting with you, they are telling you and giving you information about themselves. So for example, let's say you have a user in your system and you know who they are and they sign up for this webinar. And what we're trying to allow you to do within the form is then detect, has their job title changed? Has the company they work for changed? And if so, is that an opportunity where if their company has changed, that should maybe trigger a lead to be created in a CRM like Salesforce? Because you know now that this user who knows Liferay has moved companies, and maybe that's an opportunity to be able to sell Liferay into that new company that they work for. And I mentioned this earlier. We do really think that the form designer and the way that you can lay out a form could be the foundation in which you can build your own very simple applications within Liferay, so that business users with little to no coding can be able to quickly create the apps that are relevant to them and the apps that they need. On the tooling side, we're focusing on a few stories, making the upgrades easier, making developers much more productive, and we're also thinking about how people are deploying Liferay in the cloud or in containers. So things like Docker, AWS, we're investing in creating better support for those things. I talked about the new engagement management tools that we're currently investing in. Just to summarize them, there's this concept of a single customer view. Again, your users are interacting with your company in so many different ways, and there's a good chance that their interactions are popping up in all these backend systems that you have, your ERPs, your CRMs. What we think would be a great value is if you were able to centralize all that activity that your customers have into a single place, a single customer view, so that you can have a 360 view of your customer and their interaction with your company. And that's what we essentially want to do, whether they're coming from Liferay, external systems, third-party sites, or connected devices. We want a single place where you can have a complete view of your users. And what do you do once you have that complete view of your users? Well, it'd be great if you could design a campaign to be able to then promote what would be the next best experience for them. We can identify segments, we can identify interests, we can be able to identify many of the things by understanding your users, and then through a combined set of channels, whether it's through the web, mobile, or other types of devices, be able to push out a marketing campaign for them. Okay, so that in a nutshell are the stories that we're thinking about and sort of the movie trailer synopses of Liferay digital experience platform. I want to see if I can bring it all together into a kind of a story that hopefully will help you understand all the individual parts and how it all will hopefully work together to fix a problem. I think I shared this with you last year as well. So this was a retailer in the US, and their chief marketing officer, who did a lot of online shopping because they sold clothes, thought that, whenever I go to any of our competitor websites, I see a whole bunch of dresses that are targeted toward me. I see a whole bunch of children's clothing that are targeted to me. And he came up with this hypothesis. Wouldn't it be great if you could just stop marketing dresses to men? That would be amazing. So they spent all this effort, all this money, they created their website, and it was targeted to be gender specific. So if they identified at some point that you were a man, the navigation in the site, the content that you saw on the site was what? All men's clothing. If they identified you as a woman, guess what? The site transformed, the navigation transformed so that all the content that you saw was women's clothing. Now, what problem did that lead to? Well, I can tell you how that would have been a very big problem for me as a shopper. And why would that be? Well, because you would be treating me one-dimensionally. You would only be seeing one thing about my life and not understanding that I'm actually more than just a man wanting to purchase men's clothing. What do I mean? Well, I have kids. So imagine in that site, I wanted to buy clothing for my children because it was back to school. The season was changing, and the only clothes that fit them were the summer clothes. And now that it's fall, they need new clothes, bigger clothes, and I need to buy back-to-school clothes for my kids. So I need to understand what's available. And if your site locks me in to only seeing men's clothing, you're losing an opportunity, and you're not really understanding me as a user. My wife's birthday is also coming up, and she's been dropping hints at me that, like she would like a new dress. And so if I'm trying to shop on your site for my wife's birthday, and you only allow me to see men's clothing, that's a big problem. And for me, I'm going to all these symposiums all the time, and maybe I need a new suit. Well, then yes, at that point, the site is appropriate for me, but what you may not know is unless you offer me this, I probably won't buy, which was a coupon. Okay, so let's take that sort of back to the conceptual things of what does that really mean in terms of how we can understand users better? So one thing I think we need to do is have something that tracks all the things that are going on. So we have this concept of single customer view where the things that I've done in a store, the calls that I've made to your support center, the visits that I've made through the website, the coupons that I searched for in your mobile app, all these things are things that you're tracking and you understand about me. And there's probably additional information that you have, things like my profile, user segments that I've been part of, and you're probably already have thought through journeys that you want. Like you have a back to school sale, you have a fall promotions, you have all these things that are going on. So if you put all those things together, maybe you could allow one of your marketers or one of your users within your company to be able to look at a user, identify what are the significant things going on in this person. What do I understand about their profile? What do we know about their user segment? And is there a journey that I can associate with that user that would be the best experience for them for the next month, for the next week? And if that journey doesn't exist, then maybe it's time to create a new experience, time to create something new that will interact with this user based upon what they need. So that would be sort of a summary, a story of how we see all these things coming together. It's about being able to create and manage these touch points, being able to consolidate all that information so that you have a better understanding of those users, what their needs are and what they're trying to do. And then being able to engage them in the appropriate way so that you can build the trust, that you can build a relationship, and you can be able to provide them the things that they need. So I kind of want to shift the presentation here into, I know it's about a roadmap and it's supposed to be about our product, but I want to talk to you a little about your roadmap to digital transformation and where you are on the journey. I think a lot of people come to me and ask me, so how do we get started with all this? Or they come to me and say, hey, that's the exact problem we've sort of been struggling with. We've been trying to deal with it for the last year. And, this whole journey of being customer first, of putting the customer at the heart of our business has been really difficult for us. And I think the greatest challenge for improving the customer experience, I found this on beyondphilosophy.com, is this whole concept of siloed mentality. What is siloed mentality? That's when you have your departments like sales, marketing, engineering, accounting, that are all thinking about what's best for them versus what's best for the customer. And being able to break down these silos so that you can put customers at the center of your focus, it requires a lot of cultural change. It's more than just technology, and it really works best when all these groups are aligned toward a common goal. So I want to hopefully inspire you with an example of how I've been able to transform a part of my life by breaking down some silos. And I'm going to share with you this story of the oldest silo known to man, the work-life balance. And what's the problem? So here's my actual calendar from June. And you'll see where work and life are two silos that are competing against each other in my life. Here you have all the work trips I have in June. That's Paris, London, Recife, Frankfurt, and Los Angeles. And in between all those dates, you have things going on in my personal life. Micah, my youngest son's birthday. It's Father's Day. Grant, my second son's birthday. And my 14th wedding anniversary is right there in between all this stuff that's going on. And if you look at that calendar in June, I'm only home for 9 days. And those days that I'm home, there's a good chance I'm going to be jet lagged and grouchy and tired and probably not the best dad and husband, right? So what can we do here? So when I started thinking about, man, how am I going to solve this problem? I thought, okay, here's a summary, all the things I have to do for work, and here are all the significant life events that I have going on, okay? Yeah, I felt like this guy. Now, I think one thing I could have done is, I think what I would call cooperation. And this is the easy solution. It's, okay, if you have 5 trips, let's cut out 2 of the trips, and let's be home for the weeks where you have life events. Now, that's an okay solution, but is that the best solution? And I think this is the type of solution where you're cooperating with the other departments and you're kind of agreeing to like, hey, that's yours, that's mine, and let's try and work together. But I think there's a greater opportunity for collaboration where you're really, truly working together. So where did I get my inspiration? And I got my inspiration from this man. I think you've seen him around. He gave one of the keynotes earlier today. Eddie. He works marketing out of our Frankfurt office. And what he did one year was he brought his son to one of the symposiums and had him work as an intern. So gave him a whole bunch of tasks to do. And he also spent time with his son in that city. And I thought, what a great idea. So what I decided to do this year was with each of my boys, I told them, you can come on a work trip with dad. And one day you'll be working in the Symposium, and the other day I'll take off and I'll spend the entire day in the city with you, and we'll have a whole bunch of fun. And, I have 3 boys, and one thing I can tell you is that trying to spend time with any one of them individually is really hard. And these trips were a great way to be able to do that. And the benefits there were that they had a special time with Dad. Instead of thinking, Dad's never around and he's always on a trip, they remember, oh, which trip did you go to Dad with this year? Well, next year, I want to go to London. Next year, I want to go there. They're talking about that. And when I take one kid with me, it's actually less work for my wife. So there's a benefit for her as well. So this year, what I ended up doing was my middle son, Grant, I took to the Paris Symposium. My oldest son, Jared, I took to the Frankfurt LDSF. And my youngest son, Micah, I took to the London LDSF. And what looked like this, where you had competing work-life issues, I think turned out like this, where the green was that collaboration. I spent that first week in Paris with Grant, my middle son. That second week in London, I actually took my wife so we could celebrate our anniversary early instead of that 4th week. And London's probably her favorite city in Europe, so she really loved it. And we left our kids with some friends, and we had a great time that week. Another week, with Frankfurt, I took Jared. And then when I went to Los Angeles, we took the entire family back with us. So I think this is where if you can really figure out how to come up with more collaborative solutions that are mutually beneficial, it can really truly lead to solutions that are far more innovative than just cooperation. So the last thing I want to leave you with is, so I told you that one of the aspects of the trip was that it was supposed to be educational. So with my middle son, Grant, I had him learn how to do these slides. And so he created this slide with pictures from the Paris Symposium. So that's pretty much it. I hope you're excited about the roadmap for Liferay. Again, it's a very high-level overview of where we're going with this. And I'm not sure where you are on your journey to digital transformation, where you are with trying to put your customers at the heart of your business. But wherever you are along that journey, please remember that there are great opportunities to collaborate with other groups within your company. Also think about Liferay as a trusted vendor and any of our partners for your implementation. All these things are important things that you need to think about on your journey to really transforming your business. Thank you very much.